just absolutely shredding, and it's playing on my phone on accident. Lonnie just shredding, man.
Yeah, man.
Andy just fucking gets me every time. Dude, we had 12 people already watching before the intro stopped.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, they're all here to see you, so it's like, hey, he's still
They
alive.
missed us. Can you blame them?
No, I think we're both pretty handsome, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'd do us.
Yeah.
Let's start it out weird, right?
Yeah. Hey, authentic. It's authentic. Oh, I gotta do something with this wire. Hold on.
So, hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing well. Adam, you look like you're doing pretty good, my friend.
Doing pretty good. I would say I've had a less interesting month than you have. Definitely not as chaotic, that's for sure.
Sure. So, yeah, like the last, maybe not last week before, so Monday didn't feel very good, and Tuesday felt even worse. Spent most of the day and night puking my guts out, going from couch to bed to futon, puking in every trash can along the way. Well, if I'm being honest, it was dry heaving, tearing the shit out of my esophagus. Holy hell!
Oh, sure. Wow.
And
yeah.
If alcoholics know what I'm talking about when that shit happens. So, Wednesday morning, Miley luckily didn't have to go into work right away. She had to take Levi to his orientation for high school, and when she came back, I'm like, something's not right, and she took me to the ER, and I went in, and things went from bad to worse in a hurry. God bless them. The systems are down at this hospital. They're doing everything by paper right now. They got hacked.
Wow.
So everything by paper, nothing in the computer. So I'm sitting here wanting to die, and they got me in quick. They did the blood work quick. They got me some meds quick. I have nothing bad to say except for that one nurse. Man, I had an IV. In my hand that wasn't right, and it hurt like a mother effer every time they had to squeeze that shit into some of the meds that they were given. They're supposed to go real slow because it's super thick. And I remember the night after my surgery, this guy comes in here, and he was a nice guy.
Jammed peanut butter into you.
Just crammed it in there, dude. And I'm pretty sure I screamed. But anyway, so in the ER, first thing they tell me is I have an infection. So they start pumping me full of antibiotics. I'm like, okay, so that explains a lot. Infections can do a lot of really terrible things to you.
Absolutely.
Then they come in a little while later after some more tests, and they start talking about my appendix, and like, you still have your appendix? I'm like, yes, I do. And they're like, we're going to take a look at that. I'm like, well, that's super swollen. So we think we're going to take your appendix out. I'm like, okay, I guess that's what we're going to do then. And they kept coming in, pushing my belly. Your belly doesn't hurt? I'm like, no. And they looked super confused by this. And they kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Like, are you sure it doesn't? Yeah, dude, it doesn't hurt. My stomach doesn't hurt at all. You're pushing on the area. Nothing hurts. So then a couple scans later, they come in and talk about this thing they found in my head. That's 5 to 6 centimeters. And, all I heard was Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, like, it's a tumor.
It's a tumor.
He said, it's not a tumor.
Right.
It's actually a cyst, not a tumor. It's not really a tumor. But, ever seen that Family Guy thing where Peter's like, I'm a tumor. He's in Lois's brain. Like, Ryan the dog asked Lois how she handles Peter and all his bullshit. And she's like, I just suppress it. And he's like, you don't think anything's going to happen? And then shows her brain, and there's a little Peter thing sticking up saying, I'm a tumor. So I sent that to everybody. And, I tried to have some fun with it because I was terrified. I sent out some pictures of myself. I'm like, hey, does this tumor make me look fat? And, I had a little fun with it. But yeah, so we were talking about this a little bit before we got on, and I wanted to save a little bit of the juice to get on and talk about this. But the surgeon guy, little short, older Indian dude, comes in, super nice guy. He's like, "Yep." I'm like, "So where is this thing?" In my head exactly. And he's like, "Well, if you put your finger in the middle of your head and you put the other one on the side of your head, where they would meet is where this cyst is." And I was like, "Oh, great. It's only right in the fucking middle."
Smack dab in the middle.
Yeah. Wonderful.
It's like only where the two hemispheres come together, the most important part of the brain.
Yeah. God forbid you got a tumor, an infection, and appendicitis or appendix problems, and the tumor can't just be on the outside and you lop it off or something. So
Right.
Anyway, so it was pretty funny and embarrassing. The day before, again, they're all doing this through paperwork. And so he comes up, he's like, "Would you like to see it, the scans, and like to talk about this a little more?" I'm like, "Only a lot of it." And so this little old surgeon guy, I get up from my bed or whatever, and he holds my hand like a child because he let me walk, but he didn't want the liability of me tripping and falling.
Right.
So he's going to hold my hand, and I'm like 6 inches taller than this, 6, 8 inches taller than this little guy. And so I'm walking around this hospital holding hands with this guy, going up and down the elevators. And he took me into this office and he brought up the scans and showed me this little white piece or whatever. And he explained to me that there's some flow in that area that could have been causing some other problems that I've had in the past. And if that blocks that, if that would have blocked it completely, it would have made me go unconscious. And so luckily that didn't happen while I was doing anything dangerous. I can't drive, thankfully. And it didn't happen. So anyway, so going to surgery, I was so scared. I remember waking up for the surgery, and once I realized I was awake and it was over, all I was trying to do is make jokes with the people wheeling me into the recovery. I'm like, "You guys ever feel like somebody's been in your head all day?" Just real stupid shit. I had it all pre-planned. Like, I was just so happy to be awake. You know what I mean? Like,
I got such a headache. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the meat and potatoes of the story. So now it's been a week tomorrow since the surgery, and outside of some pretty miserable headaches and some sleepless nights and 20-some staples in here, I figured the bandana would look better on camera than this white patch I got covering the staples. I'm sure if I was more popular, there'd be people like, "I don't even believe that he had it done. He's just wearing it for looks." You know what I mean? But
yeah, just doing it for the ratings.
Yeah. So I didn't shave my head or anything. I just have fuck it. You know what? So they just shaved a little bit.
So it looks like you got in a bar fight.
Yeah. Somebody tonked me on the head pretty good. You know what I mean? I'm not going to take these off because it's a pain in the ass to get it on without getting hair stuck into it. But yeah, there's I think Miley counted 20-some staples in there or whatever. But
that's not bad.
Get those out next week and doing pretty damn good considering.
So you're like a newborn now with a soft spot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so disgusting because you're not supposed to get these things wet.
Right.
Not to be too gross, but there's still dry blood in my hair and bits and pieces, and it's disgusting. But
I'm really fascinated on how they got from we think you have an infection to we're going to do a CT scan on your head. I'm just from the anatomy and physiology side of me. I'm like, what did they see? Like, there had to have been something in the blood work or something, or they're just like, we have no clue. Let's just go test everything.
Dude, every time when I was drinking, every time I'd go in there, they would give me a CAT scan. So an MRI and CAT scan every single time.
The last big rehab I went to, I thought like I had quit drinking the day before going, and apparently had a nice case of DTs once I got there. And so they're like, "We're sending you to the hospital." I kind of remember I remember all the hallucinations that I was having at treatment center and the hallucinations that I had while I was in the hospital. And I remember going and getting the CT scan and everything. I'm like, "Why are you guys doing a CT scan? I'm just detoxing."
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know. So maybe it's SOP. I don't know, but they gave me a scan. They found it, and I'm glad they did. I at first, like they offered me, like I was getting morphine injections into my IV every 4 hours.
Damn.
And, I'd never experienced morphine before. And I don't know if my drinking career made it where I was like, all it did was make me feel not like shit. But I've heard horror stories since, you know what I mean? Like people just freaking the fuck out and Sheen's shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like 4 more hours, a couple more hours will give you more morphine.
Yeah. And you're like, okay.
I ain't gonna argue with you. I'm like,
Yeah.
I am not worried about an addiction right now. My fucking head hurts.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, thankfully you're here. You're still alive. So
yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad to see you.
I'm glad to be here too, man. It gave a lot of time to sit and think and reflect, and these it shouldn't take something like this to reflect and really understand and appreciate what you have. But the nurses, all of them are so fucking great. You know what I mean? And they're just amazing people. You know what I mean? And doing all that without any paperwork. I mean, shit. Or without any computers. I mean, unreal. So nothing.
But back to 1980.
Yeah.
Starts.
Yeah. They didn't act like they were skipping a beat. So
this is a good, not really segue, but this is a great, I think, example, or maybe something you can just talk about how your perspective on things have shifted now, because I'm sure there are things that I'm not gonna throw any examples out there, but there have got to be things in your life or just how you view life now that have got to be a little bit different having coming through this.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like my financial worries that were overwhelming prior to this are non-existent.
Right.
Like, because those bills aren't going to kill me. They're going to be there until they're not.
Right.
One way or another, whether I do the bankruptcy thing or I work my ass off and pay them off when I'm 96.
Yeah.
Those things used to really pile on to me. And it's gone,
Right.
And I also found out that I really love what I do. This included, like, I love talking to people about recovery, and I love working with people. I had a guy, and I didn't tell him right away, a client that has my number that reached out, and he's starting a new job, and he's got a lot of really good things going on in his life right now. And he sent me a text, and I would read it, but I'll just paraphrase because, he's like, I can't thank you enough for the talks that we've had and what you did to help me. He's like, I can't thank you enough. And then when I told him, he's like, holy shit, dude. You know what I mean?
He's like, oh.
Yeah. And like,
I was having a bad day.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like, those things, I talked to my boss today, and she's like, well, you got to be medically cleared. I was like, well, I said, I'm coming back on this Thursday. And she's like, well, you got to be medically cleared. And I'm like, I didn't expect you to say that. So now I got to hope that my doctor will give me the okay on Wednesday to go back to work on Thursday, because I miss talking with the people, man. I love doing it. And I don't think that I'm anything special, but I've been there, I've done that, and I have experience, and it seems to connect with people. And I found a little bit of love for myself when I was in there, and the things that this podcast has done, like reflecting on the podcast and the guests. Before I went in the hospital, I threw out there, who wants to be on here, and then 3 dudes like, let's do it, and we had a really good conversation.
Yeah,
I mean, not everybody gets to do that, and that was such a special thing. And I think we deliver a pretty good message every time we chat, even when we're just bullshitting. And people need this help. They need to hear things, and they need to hear some positivity. And, I spent a lot of time on TikTok in the hospital, and got to hear, there's a lot of, if you get into recovery talk on there, and you can find a lot of people that are really going through it, a lot of people that are sharing some really good information. And what I've seen and what really got the fire going is there are a lot of people that are really being hurt by a certain program and the people that are in it. And I didn't realize it was that bad. And I didn't go out looking for it. It just kind of fell into and it's more and more people are like, and it's like, how much damage are these assholes doing? You know what I mean? Like, so if you have something that worked for you and it's not the mainstream and you don't want to share, that's your choice. But I strongly encourage you to talk about it in any way that you can, because, this disease, I just said that. Yeah. This disorder.
They rewired a few things while they're in there.
Yeah. Alcohol and addiction is not going anywhere. And to be terrified to talk about it. I was in there talking about my recovery and my drinking history to anybody that would listen, to the nurses or whatever. And I thank them for all the times that, I came in there just sloshed, and they took care of me and never treated me poorly. You know what I mean?
Same hospital?
Huh?
Same hospital? Same
hospital. I've been in that hospital so many friggin' times, dude.
That's awesome.
Yep. And so, it just, and none of them were none of them, like when they talk about addiction, there was no stigma from them. There was none of them were like, yeah, you're an idiot. There was no negative vibes. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, because they must see it. They have to see it all the time. Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm reinvigorated. I want to talk more and more about things that are uncomfortable, like that, and what I like and what I don't like, and just what I like and what I don't like shouldn't matter to anybody. But I'm going to talk about it because that's me just being authentic, so you know what you're getting. I think what I mean. That's what I want. So.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was thinking about you the other day, and I was like, I wonder if they're giving him pain meds when he comes out of surgery. I wonder when he tells the first nurse that he's an alcoholic, who's going to shit their pants. And I just, like, we're giving you more tabs?
Yeah. Dude, yeah, I didn't even think about that until you just said that. So I got to start my sobriety date. I got to start everything all over because I had morphine. Because I had surgery.
Yeah. Fuck. Jesus. All right.
It's starting it all over.
I'll FedEx you a white chip if you want it.
Yeah, well, give me a white chip. I got to delete all the podcasts because it was all for nothing now. Start completely over. I should have just taken Flintstones vitamins for the pain.
Right. I started to make a really bad joke. I'm going to leave that one. When we're not live. Well, I think that's awesome, man. I love the fact that you can sit there and reflect on this. I mean, just like life-changing few weeks you've been through, because it is life-changing. And you don't seem to be pissed, you don't have the why me syndrome. It's not you're not a victim to it. You're like, well, this sucks. All right, let's fix it. And you've reframed it from a negative thing to a learning experience that is fueling you to go out and like double down on the message and all the stuff that you want to do. I think that's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And so like tomorrow, I don't know how much I've talked about this on the podcast, but I'm still on probation. If I've never mentioned that before.
Yeah, a few times.
From my last drunk driving, I'm still on probation. It was a 2-year deal, and that will be, I got sentenced in October 2 years ago. So in October, my 2 years will be up. But tomorrow is my report date, and it's just an email, but I'm going to send in the paperwork to be released because right now for my work, I can't get into the jail and talk to people while I'm on probation as a recovery coach.
Yeah.
So it's holding me back on that. And sitting in the hospital, it's not like jail, but it's kind of like jail. You know, when you can't move and you can't get out of bed.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and then the nurses are the cops coming in and doing the checks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the food is similar. No, it's not. It's
Like I said, I don't have any experience. I would think you're maybe a little bit higher up.
it's a little better in the hospital. Yeah. I mean, but let me tell you, dude, completely sidetracked myself here. I took a bite of a sausage the morning after I checked in, and with my esophagus all tore up, dude. And I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
I didn't chew it enough.
Yeah. It's like razor blades going down.
Oh my God, it was so bad. So but so like I said, this I'm rejuvenated. I'm ready to get back to work, and I'm ready to keep talking recovery and taking on, the bullies. But also I wanted to go back to I got to sit there. So, I should also say this. When I got out of surgery and went into recovery, I had 3 people there for me. And one was obviously Miley. The other one was my dad. And the other one was my grandfather. And I've had a pretty good relationship with my grandfather most of my life. You know what I mean? We weren't as close for a long time, but my dad is the big one. And when I called and told him, I could hear it in his voice. My brother passed away a couple years ago. His dad just passed away. My father's dad just passed away. I wasn't really close with him, but it was something to him. He's like, Jesus Christ. He's like, what else can happen? He's like, and we had a really important, really nice conversation. And he told me he loved me. And it wasn't just like, love you type thing. It was like, and holy shit, dude, I cried like a baby after that conversation because I haven't had that relationship with my dad. Yeah. And I think every boy wants that. You know what I mean? I'm not a boy. I'm a grown-ass man. I'm tearing up now.
Every son
wants that. You know what I mean? And him doing that, even, my kids and I have had a strange relationship because of my drinking, and it's finally getting better. And they were, especially Easton, was super worried about. They were both worried about me. Yeah. And I haven't said I love you too much to them because I don't want them to feel like they have to say it back. You know what I mean? And so I threw that out the fucking window. I'm not doing that anymore. I love you. And if you don't have to say anything, but I'm going to tell you I love you because that's the fucking truth. I love you with all my heart. And so there were a lot of good things that came out of this. And, it shouldn't have to take something like this. But it almost always seems like we get so wrapped up in these little stupid fucking things of life where something like this has to happen to bring people together. Yes. And we all know it. You know what I mean? We all know that, I should call this person today. I'll call him tomorrow. Like, my thing is, and Miley will verify this, she might say, have you talked to your dad in a while? And I'm like, I'm going to wait a little bit till a little bit later in the day so he's good and toasty. Working on the farm all day. He's got a few in him. And I said that again yesterday. And I was like, you fucking idiot. And I came in here and I called him, and guess what? He was already toasty. So it worked out. And we had the longest conversation we've ever had on the phone. It was almost an hour long. And he talked about all the dogs that he's had. And he told me some pretty funny stories. And I was laughing my ass off and kind of talked a little bit about the future of the farm because, he has a pretty big farm, and I've not been involved with that at all. But, it's a family thing. And he kind of talked about how, he'd like to see it keep going when he's older or whatever. I'm not going to be in a combine anytime soon. I'm just saying that, you know what I mean? I'm too old probably to learn that shit, but I wouldn't mind learning the other side of it and be able to help if I can, even to type up a letter, you know what I mean? And that's how I'm going to approach that. So
Awesome.
Thank you, Toomer.
Yeah.
Tuma.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, my month has not been anywhere near as chaotic.
No, you had a beautiful trip, it looks like, dude.
That was a blast. It was a blast. I am this much. I mean, I'm like so close to just going out and buying a bike again. Luckily, I have a friend who has two, so I don't have to buy one at the moment.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What got me, bikes have never attracted me at all. You know what got me was your hammock.
Yeah.
Dude.
Have I talked about the motorcycle trip I did when I graduated?
I don't think so.
So same guy, same buddy that I just did this trip with on the weekend. When we graduated from Georgia, we took a 3-week cross-country motorcycle trip. So we left Athens, Georgia, which is basically, might as well Atlanta if you're not from, the Southeast. We left Atlanta, went out I-20, cut north somehow. I mean, we went all the way almost to LA. Cut up Pacific Coast 1, which is the highway that you always think of right on the beach that runs all the way up the West Coast.
Wow.
Took Pacific Coast 1 up past San Francisco to, it's not Redwoods National Park. It's some other state park. It's some state park in California with big sequoia trees everywhere. Cut over up to Lake Tahoe, over to Salt Lake City, down through Arches National Park, which back then, there were no iPhones. I had a Rand McNally Atlas in my luggage in the back, and then a small little, car-sized Atlas in my tank bag. So we didn't know we were going through some of these parks. We went through some major U.S. landmarks. I had no idea because they weren't on the map.
No shit.
And it was funny because I didn't know until probably maybe 5 years ago that we went through Arches National Park because there were no signs. I just started seeing pictures like, oh, dude, I've got a picture of that. And I pulled it up and was like, holy shit, we were in Arches? I had no idea. But we camped the whole way. And so in trying to figure out, how we're going to do this, there's real thin portable parachute hammocks that kind of just come out. And so I bought one, and it came with a bug net and a rain fly, which I've since lost. But that's what we did the whole way. Funnily enough, there are not a lot of large trees on certain parts of the California coast, so made camping interesting there. At one point, we were coming across from, I guess we came into Bakersfield. No, that was coming out of Sierra Nevadas. So when we got to California, there's a lot of people don't realize this. There's 2 mountain ranges in California. As you're coming east to west, you hit the Sierra Nevadas, which is pretty decent sized mountain range. You come out of that and you get over to the coastal range, which is like where Big Sur is. Further down south, you got a few other places, but you got to go across those to get down to the coast. Well, on the map, this road was marked as a 2-lane highway going across the Sierra Nevadas. And, it's like that big. Well, it turns out it was a 2-day trip that was not a 2-lane highway. It was multiple dirt roads and all sorts of stuff. And my motorcycle at the time only had about 120 miles fuel range. So there were a few times where I was like, hey, I'm going to put it in neutral and turn the bike off and coast down this hill, okay? I'll catch up to you to conserve gas. So it was the adventure for a couple 21-year-olds. Just be like, all right, we're going that way.
That's awesome.
So yeah, this is actually the first time we've been on bikes together. And we've been camping together since then, but this was the first actual motorcycle camping trip since that trip. So 17 years ago. So a lot of fun. Well,
why wait? Right?
That's right, man. That's right. Yeah. Not quite as old as you yet. But, I'm not gonna wait until I'm retired to live and have fun. So
No. Even Miley's boss, she went and said, "Hey, Scott's having surgery on this day or whatever. Can I have it off?" And he's like, "Why couldn't you? She's a really good worker. You know what I mean? She's one of those people that are like, hate to ask for time off. She never misses any time or whatever." And he's like, "We work to live, not live to work." And she came home and told me that, and I was like, "He ain't wrong."
that's right. That's
right. So take that trip, make that phone call.
That's right.
Whoever it is, you know what I mean? Like, so it shouldn't have to take all this. And by the way, go back to your trip, man. Those pictures were amazing. And like, I would give both testicles to be camped out with a view like that for a night. Yeah. I don't need them anymore. I'm done having kids. So. I'm not really giving up much then, am I?
Well, we can get you on 2 wheels. It's not hard. Or you can be in a tow vehicle. We'll just put all the crap in your car, and you can load everything and carry it around.
Well, yeah. So now, I just got to get that license back. But I got to be clean and sober. I'm gonna be clean and sober for over a year in order to do that. And I've had morphine, so I fucking can't, man. I got to see what my sponsor has to say about that.
That's what I was gonna say earlier. I was gonna be like, did you ask your sponsor if you could have surgery?
Dude, whatever is working for you, fucking keep doing it. And I'm so goddamn happy that it's working for you. If you're somebody out there with a sponsor that goes to a meeting every night, but I just don't see the benefit anymore. I've seen and heard too much of the bullshit, the ego complex, the superiority complex, and the fucking, where you have to come in and degrade yourself in order to be a part of this thing.
Yep.
And it's something that you are encouraged to do for the rest of your life. I'm not on board with that anymore. It gave me what it gave me, and take what you need and leave the rest. Well, I took what I needed and I'm leaving it completely behind. So not to.
Yeah. One thing I've been really, I guess I don't want to really say I've been really thinking about it and contemplating. I think contemplating is a good word. Just kind of, it's been in the back of my mind, just as I kind of get bored and thinking about random things, is this idea of victimhood. So I'm a big fan of Peter Crone, and one of his quotes, or I don't know his quote exactly, but one of his ideas is, you either are a victim or you are 100% responsible for your life. A lot of times I talk about life exists on a spectrum where there is no real on-off, black-white, no duality. Everything kind of exists in gradation. But he's got a really good point about victim mentality and victimhood. There is no, well, I'm 99.9% responsible for my life, and I'm 0.1% victim of my circumstances. That 0.1% is just like a drop of dye in a bucket of water. It's no longer crystal clear. So therefore, you are not 100% responsible for your life. And so it's hard to want to, or I should say it's hard to want. It's hard to accept that concept in all contexts of your life. Because as soon as you say I'm 100% responsible for everything that happens in my life, immediately the people who are victims and have victim mentality are going to throw in like, well, what if I got raped? I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of this awful thing happening. I'm a survivor of a cyst in my head. Not saying that you're a victim. But everybody looks at these things, and the perspective is, this thing defines me and is causing me to be the way I am.
Mm.
And that is basically, I mean, that is victimhood. This external thing separate from me is causing me. I am the way I am because of that over there, that circumstance. And that's not to say that bad things don't happen to people, because they absolutely do. But what defines the victim is the perspective that they view themselves with, how they view what happened to them and how they come out the other side and what they decide to do with it. And it's just something I've been playing over and over in my head, you know, all these different these things in my life that I used to be like, man, that really can't believe that happened to me. That I used to kind of blame as, you know, it's like, well, that's kind of why I did this, and you know, this happened, so I did that. And now I see it as, no, that happened, and I decided to respond this way. You know, um, hard to talk about without really going into a lot of specifics, but it's just been something that I've been mulling over back and forth. And I wanted to read this, see if I can pull it up and make it large enough. So it breaks down into well, all right. So this guy I follow on Instagram, he kind of put this up, and he's going through and he's explaining this, and I'm gonna try my best. But I was born as love. I made interpretations about life. I made perceptions about life, and I carried beliefs about me.
Mm.
It's wounds, traumas, and self-inflicted trauma, basically, how you think about things. And then life comes along and gives you lessons and teachers. So all that stuff that you were carrying with you then gets upset and disturbed in life inside of you. And so then all this stuff that you see externally as being wrong, that you judge, are things inside of you that you don't like about yourself. And we've talked about this in the past as well, but what I'm starting to realize is a lot of the things that I personally had problems with, when I see it in other people, when I stop and look back at myself, I can see those in me, these tendencies. We'll just take, you know, I don't know, take cutting in line, for example. I just something off the wall, like in traffic, you know, ticks you off, pisses you off. And you're like, why does it piss me off? There's something inside of me that responds to that. And I used to always think it was because of some belief I had growing up. Really, it's just how I chose to respond to things outside of my control. So it's a very disjointed and disjumbled topic, but it's just been going kind of like just stewing and percolating up here.
Yeah. Reminds me of a quote: "There's no such thing as overthinking. You're just stuck on your feelings."
Yeah.
And you know, that's and when you started talking about that, like, I remember when I first, what attracted to me to, not to bring this back to AA, but it's a recovery podcast. When I found out that this is a disease and it was out of my control, I was like, whoa, it's not my fucking fault.
You know exactly what
It's not my fucking fault. I couldn't wait to tell everybody this is a disease.
Yeah.
You know, my thinking is warped. I have a disease of the mind. My thinking is wrong. And I loved using that for a long time. And in treatment, you know, like, this is a disease. You know, you're not a bad person. You have a disease. I still made the choices. You know what I mean? Like, I still made the choices. So, you know, I don't care what you say about whether you believe it's a disease or not. Even if it is a disease, it doesn't make it doesn't make you drive your car to the store, buy it, get it home, hide it, drink it, and lie about it. Yeah. it's not making you do these things. There's no disease that maybe a parasite can get in your head and take over your body and make you do shit. Maybe, I don't know, in the movies, but I'm not saying it's all choice. You lose choice once you consume the shit.
Yeah.
But it's more freeing to just be like, I did these things and I made these choices.
Yeah.
And, I'm responsible for these consequences. It's way more freeing.
That right there is the whole, like, as much as it sucks to own up to it and admit it and say it, there are shitty things that happen to people that cause them a lot of pain.
Sure.
I mean, I do not have any type of childhood trauma that anyone could even remotely say, oh, that's why he was an alcoholic right there.
Yeah.
But when you take 100% responsibility, that means even though you didn't even know better, you didn't know that there were other avenues for comfort, you're taking 100% responsibility for the fact that you chose the actions you chose in order to feel better. Now, it does not negate the fact that you were trying to soothe yourself and make yourself feel better. That's completely human.
Yeah.
But there is something completely different about putting the responsibility on the need to make myself feel better, as opposed to saying, I chose to do these things to make myself feel better. You can finally accept the fact and understand deep down that you chose to do these things to make yourself feel better. That's as nuanced as it sounds. That is just light years apart from putting the responsibility on the need to make yourself feel better.
There's nothing wrong with trying to survive.
Exactly.
And that's what I hated myself. I hated all the decisions I made with my life. I hated where I was at. And then, like Fat Bastard, like I always say, I hate myself. I hate myself because I eat, and I eat because I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I eat.
Yeah.
Just replace that with drink.
Yeah.
You cannot blame yourself for trying to survive and just try to cope. That's what we're doing. I truly believe that. It's a coping mechanism. People that get addictions are coping with something. And like you said, you didn't have a terrible childhood.
Yeah.
I didn't have a great one. I'm 99% sure I was molested as a child. Just because of, I don't know a lot of kindergartners that are going home and doing things that teenagers do in the bathroom, you know what I mean? Thinking those things. Right. So the signs are there, but maybe there's something hidden, and, mom abandoned me, all these things. I didn't, and the choices I made in my life, I was coping. So that's not bad. You're not bad for coping, for drinking, sticking a needle in your arm, taking pills. You're not bad for trying to cope and figure it out. But you are responsible for the lies and the schemes to get the shit, the money that you stole, the things that you did knowingly, not under the influence, and then some of the things under influence. You are responsible for that, and so.
The big difference right there is that we always equate responsibility with fault.
Right.
I am responsible for how I respond to things. I am not at fault for bad things that happen to me. It's a hard concept to wrap your head around. You're not to blame for the bad things that happen to you, and you're not to blame for the need to soothe and the need to make yourself comfortable.
Yeah.
You're responsible for how you interpret all that information. It's hard. I'm very bad right now at putting this into words.
I think you're doing better than what you think. Monty says I get wrapped up in self-destructive behavior probably because I don't feel good about who I am. And what better way to perpetuate that cycle by continuing to do things to not like yourself, right? Yeah. So And it's so fucking hard to find a way to like yourself. You know, one way to do that is to go get a cyst and have brain surgery and lay in a hospital bed and not sure if you're going to make it through. Because then you can change perspective really quick. Because there was a point in my life, Adam, where I would have wished that thing wouldn't have worked. I would have died on that table. And I'm not that far removed from those thoughts. Like, I was in treatment my third time, and I remember I went in there and there was a lump on my arm, and I literally prayed to any deity or any demon or anything that thing was fucking cancer and I was going to be dead. I prayed for that. I wanted it to be, and it wasn't. And I don't know how. I don't have the answers for anybody to be able to say, you know, like, to stop hating yourself. But the best thing that you can do is, and it makes me sad that you said that, Lonnie. It does. Because you're a really good dude, man. You made this most wonderful intro to this podcast that I love, and I sit here and I listen to over and over again when I'm just sitting here. You know, every single person has worth, and I know for sure that you do.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it breaks my heart that people feel this way. And I do believe, and this is, you know, I just sent this text. I sent a text to my mother this weekend, or while I was in the hospital. She sent a random text at 4:30 in the morning. Guess what she was probably doing? And I sent her one final text, and I basically said, you know, you are worth this. You know, even if you don't believe it right now, you know, we may never have a relationship, and we probably never will. I'd never be able to trust her again. I don't know. I would like to, because people have trusted me again. Anyway, without going in the rabbit hole here, I just go look in the mirror and say 3 things nice about yourself as soon as you wake up. Do it again at lunch and do it before bed. And I promise you, things will start to change.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you. You know, and it took just a few days in the hospital of me, like, looking back and being like, damn, look at all these podcasts that I've done. Look at all these messages that I'm getting from clients. Look at these messages that I've gotten from the podcast, and, you know, people that have enjoyed it, you know, look at all these, you know, and I know you've gotten it too, dude, you know, people just saying thank you. You know, I'm doing good shit, and I haven't been perfect, and I won't be perfect, and I'm going to fuck up again here pretty quick. Probably it's something, impulsively do something that's going to fuck something up. But overall, I'm a damn good person, and I deserve to survive the brain surgery. And I'm not acting like it was like, it is major surgery, but it was in a place that wasn't major. So I'm not being like, here, like, I'm a survivor. I'm a miracle. You know, I'm not saying that shit. I'm just saying the me that didn't give a shit if I lived or not was an idiot.
Yeah. Because
I got to see my little boys, and I got 2 of the most real hugs I've gotten in a long fucking time. I had surgery on Tuesday, and my son had his first football game on Saturday. It was like 90 degrees out. And Miley's like, would you like to try to go to the game? And I'm like, yes, I would. And she's like, do you think that's a good idea? And I'm like, I'm not sure. But we went. And my grandfather showed up. I called him and said, hey, would you like to go see your great-grandson play some football? And he's like, yeah, I'll meet you up there. And we met up, and we sat in the hot-ass bleachers, and I watched my son play football. And the hug I got from him after the football game, and the hug I got from my other son when I walked up those stands.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So
can't put it into words. I get it.
Yep.
I get it. Yeah.
So
yeah.
If you don't think you're worth it right now, lie to yourself. Go into the mirror and lie to yourself right now and tell you that you are a good person. Because it's not, you're going to say words that you don't believe. That's what I mean. Say the words that you don't believe right now. Because it's the truth. We did it in treatment. there's a guy that just went back to treatment that I was in there with. I made him do it with me when I was in my treatment. We'd go in the morning and we'd say, you're a good person. You deserve to be happy. And it started to change things.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lonnie, this is hard. Probably, might be hard for you to see and get yourself to think this way, but your statement, probably because I don't feel good about who I am. I'm willing to bet that is not the actual you saying that. That is the ego of you saying that. And here's why. It's because you say you get wrapped up in self-destructive behavior because you don't feel good about who you are. And because you don't feel good about who you are, you'll do self-destructive behavior. And because you do self-destructive behavior, you don't feel good about who you are. So it's that cycle again. And you got to remember that what the ego does is protect us. And so it does that by anticipating future events. So the best way that it can do that is to predict the future by analyzing the past. And so you are stuck right now in that cycle because the ego is controlling everything. And you got to remember, when I say ego, I don't mean this self-inflated sense of grandeur. I mean the actual survival mechanism that is part of your personality, is part of your psyche. Getting out of that is tough. I'm not saying I got an answer to just, zap you out of that, but it is a perspective shift. It is a change in how you view it that will eventually get you out of it. You got to see the off ramp before you can actually make the exit. So if you can start seeing that, hey, look, I'm starting to think these same thoughts again about how I'm not good enough, how I don't feel good about who I am, do exactly like Scott's saying and start reminding yourself of good things you've done and how you do deserve to be happy, so that you can start seeing that off ramp and exit that cycle. I am firmly believe that the majority of our problems psychologically, kind of like that, come down to perspective and the ego leading the train, driving the bus.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, a bad person doesn't spend the hours and time that you probably spent on all those clips of music that you sent me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean, dude? You did that because you, I think, enjoyed the content and you wanted to do something nice for the podcast. And bad people don't do that. Nope. Only really good people that want to give back do things like that. Yeah. And I love you, man. I've never met you, and I couldn't pick you out of a crowd. But the vibe that I get, you're a good human, and that's the bottom line. Because Stone Cold said so. To make a little light,
you are enough. That's one of the things is,
Oh, you just said you are enough. I got that hanging on my microphone, a bracelet that says,
"Yeah,
I am enough."
You are enough.
It's right here.
That is one of the hard. Like if you can't look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're a good person, at least say, "I am enough."
Yeah.
And breathe, because you are.
Yep.
I am enough.
Oh yeah. So to end it on a light note, we got a comment that won't show up here because X doesn't show comments on StreamYard for some reason. Looking on my phone, got a comment. Somebody's like, said, "Hey, you got a Trump ear Band-Aid on your forehead." Oh shit! Everybody was going off about, like, he didn't really get hit in the ear. That was a fake Band-Aid on his head. I got a fake Band-Aid. So Band-Aids do look like this. This is a protective for the staples underneath. It's not really a Band-Aid. So believe it or not, they do look like this. This is real.
Yeah, I think they were like super gluing his ear back together and just kind of.
Yeah. Well, there might have been a staple. There might have been a suture. I don't know. But I thought that was pretty damn funny. He's like, hey, the comment was, hey, you got a Trump ear Band-Aid on your forehead.
That's awesome.
Oh.
That's awesome. Make Band-Aids great again.
We're canceled. We mentioned Orange Man without saying something negative. We're canceled. Okay. Anyway, this was fun.
It was, man. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. And gotta get back into the swing of things on this. You know, I got some time. You know, I've been trying to think of something that I could do that would draw people in to make, since I'm sitting here at home on my ass, like but I don't have.
You need like some sort of like stupid human tricks, like for $10 to this charity, Scott will do X.
Right, and so yeah, like I don't know what the charity would be. That's the problem, you know. Like,
yeah,
I'll stream live and talk recovery for 20 hours straight. I'm willing to do something like that while I'm sitting here. You know what I mean? Like for a charity, but what charity really works? I'm not going to raise money for AA. I'm not going to raise money for something that's going to go into some treatment facility that's already getting government funding. You know what I mean? And yeah. I'm not going to be like, hey, send my PayPal $20, and because you have no reason to fucking trust me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You never know, man.
Well, I mean, I want something to where I can, in a second, I can call up a cab or an Uber and get somebody to treatment when they need it, when they walk into our office. We have funding for that. We got funding at work for that. But it's not always that simple. And you always have to get approval and you get all these things. So like, if there was an extra cash over here of things, then I can get you a bus ticket. I can get you a bus ticket right now. Here's the money. The bus station's right next to our office. Even somebody online that listens to the program or whatever knows somebody that needs help. I could call and say, yeah, give me your information. I will call and set up the Uber and I'll let you know when they're coming. I'd love to be able to do that for people.
Let's set it up.
Okay. We'll brainstorm. I'll use your brain. Your brain's not inflamed and hasn't been souffled or flayed, not souffled, flayed. I made a poor joke. Yeah, I know. It's like I used to be a unicorn. That's why this is here. But I told Miley, it was probably a ill joke. I'm like, I was like, babe, I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.
Yeah. What you should tell people is like, yeah, man, I went in for a colonoscopy and it came out like this. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Dude, they brought that shit up too. They brought up colonoscopy. I'm not kidding. Like, have you had that done? It's like, it's very important at your age. And I'm like, no, you can cut into my brain. I'm not doing that. I'm sorry.
Okay, bend over.
Oh my God.
Oh,
that terrifies me. Like, the brain thing was scary enough, but.
Well, hey, I mean, you do keep saying you want to meet all the little gray people and stuff. So, I mean,
I'm
just saying that's one of the rumors that goes along with it.
I'd make an exception. To go for riding a UFO, dude. Have at her, boys. To see the universe.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh God, Lonnie, sorry.
Oh no.
I've heard the day before was worse. Yeah, just from this crappy drink.
Oh yeah, the crappy drink. Oh my God, yes.
And yeah, it's like, hey, colonoscopy. Okay, you gotta take 3 days off.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's see what else this is. Okay, this wasn't that comment had nothing to do with the podcast, so we can let that one go. So I guess there's been a lot of UFO sightings while I was in the hospital. Saying some crazy videos out there. I just AI is so good, and drones are out there, and they can do crazy things in formation. So everything is even harder to believe now than it was before. But
so I know I sent you a couple, like the blue and red lights in LA. Have you seen this thing about Steve Harvey's face in Atlanta?
Mm-mm.
I don't know if it was like a fake story or it was AI, but I just happened to see it scrolling through something. Apparently, like they got enough drones together. Somehow they made like I gotta find it real quick. They made Steve Harvey's face.
Thank you, Lonnie. Really means a lot, buddy.
Yeah, it made the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Hold on, I'm
They
gonna.
made Steve Harvey's face out of drones.
Yeah, I'm gonna find the.
What I mean, did something happen to Steve Harvey that I'm unaware of?
I don't think so.
They just
but-
picked Steve Harvey out of everybody that they could make a face of.
Well, you know, I mean, they filmed Family Feud in Atlanta, so I'm thinking that's.
Oh, okay. Oh, dude, I want to come down. Let's get on Family Feud.
It's rock and roll. Oh, posted it as you, but anyway, that's the link over there in the comments.
Okay, so the link is in the comments on YouTube if you're looking for it.
So yeah, it was funny is because it came out like a couple days after all the UFO sightings. They're like, they're these UFOs? They made Steve Harvey's face.
They love Family Feud in space.
I guess, man. I
Yeah,
guess.
the Palladians are big fans of Family Feud.
Right. So,
Why wouldn't they be?
I mean, I think he does a better job than the other old guys.
I think he's great. I think he's awesome. I love watching clips of Family Feud of Steve Harvey. Just his facial expressions are so good.
Yeah, and especially the ones that are like off air between commercial takes and stuff, you know, and he just starts monologuing and giving life advice. I'm like, this guy's legit.
Yeah, dude. I love how he talks too. Like his delivery on things, you know, it comes across as so matter of fact sometimes, and even though he's saying something completely silly, you know what I mean?
My favorite one, for some reason, it keeps popping up. Comes around the social media every so often, but it's like name one thing that Abe Lincoln would ride or something. You know, like they're down to 2 strikes on the team, and this very prim and proper young lady's sitting there, and she's kind of blushing. It's like, you got 2 strikes, you know, you get it wrong, the other team steals, can win the game. She's like, Mrs. Lincoln. And sure as shit, that's the last answer.
No shit.
Of course, you know, the way he does. He's just like, he tosses the cards and he's like, what the heck? But it's funny.
Because, I mean, I guess it's not a bad answer because that might be something that I would answer if they polled me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, name one thing that Abe Lincoln wrote.
My answer might have been like your mom.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Mrs. Lincoln?
I'm a juvenile.
Right.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, I got to get up super early and drive to Charleston. So
Okay. Well, drive safe, my friend. Thanks everybody for listening. We hit 45 tonight, which is pretty amazing.
good. Yeah.
Lonnie, hang in there, my friend. Reach out. DM's always open. And that goes for anybody listening too. I got nothing but time to listen and to tell you, each and every one of you, how fucking amazing you are. And I'll mean it. So thanks for listening, everybody. Adam, drive safe, man. Good seeing you, buddy.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.